May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I'm Scott, your host, and a man who has never met a pizza he didn't like. I'm doing the show. I'm not doing the show as often these days, but I promise I'm going to get back to it more often. I'm going to try to get in here and do more than one episode every few months. And with us in spirit, of course, is a man that the FBI calls a solid spam risk. That's Paul B. That's our producer, Paul, who is behind the scenes, but never really on the show that much. He is producing the show from a private island just off the coast of Bali, where his illegal drug operation operates right now. He's doing a good job with that. And I have no idea which coast of Bali he's on because he's never invited me over to see it, ever. And but the show's getting done. So anyway, kudos to Paul and good job avoiding the authorities for all these years. Yeah, good work on that. So who am I? What do I do? And how do you reach me? I'm Scott. I run a public relations firm in Orange County, California, called Robertson Communications. And I solve business problems for all sorts of companies. I tend to work with startups, and I tend to work with startups in the music and tech space. I'm also a certified story brand guide. So I believe in the power of creating a very powerful story and doing that for great content marketing and great websites, and really just sort of saving the world from bad marketing one client at a time. So you guys have joined us for a good show. This is episode 174 of the show. We're going to be taking a good look at syndicated content with a real expert on the subject with Rick Smith, who is the CEO of NewsUSA. So, today a brand is really only as good as its stories and its content. And that bodes extremely well for our guest, Rick Smith. So NewsUSA is a leader in the syndicated content space. So we're going to talk about content and what brands can do to tell a better story, amplify that story to reach their audiences all around the world. This is going to be another Peabody-award-winning episode of the program, so you tuned into a very good one. Rick, just so you know a little bit about Rick, he founded NewsUSA in 1987, and more than 30 years later, he's working on new ways to make customers and clients look great. Early in his career, he was at Deloitte, and he realized that PR and ad people were kind of flying blind since there was no news feature service that was providing real solid metrics to measure success. So he founded News Canada, then he finally launched NewsUSA. He's served on the faculty of the Young Presidents Association, judged the National Press Club's Consumer Journalism Awards, himself's been a Blue Chip Enterprise Award winner for reinventing his company. And along the way, Rick's authored 6 books, including the 3 best-selling self-help business titles called Getting Started, Getting Money, and Getting Sales. Today, Rick's on numerous advisory boards. He's an early seed investor in more than 100 emerging companies. Ideally where his contacts, media clout, and marketing strategy can help scale those companies. So please welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen, Rick Smith. Thanks for being here, Rick.
Thank you, Scott. Really glad to be here. Sounds like it's going to be fun today because we're going to cover some good things.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, let's just dig right into it. So why did you start NewsUSA?
Well, I guess let's get back to before starting NewsUSA, I started News Canada. And what happened is I came out of accounting school in Deloitte and Touche, and I had written some books on business startup, financing, and selling called Getting Started, Getting Money, Getting Sales. And as a result,
there they are.
And here are the books. Okay.
Yeah, they are. Nice, man.
My picture on the back. Okay. I looked a little younger then, but
look at you.
I did that and I got those books going, and then I realized I gotta sell these books. So I fired out press releases. I tried advertising. But advertising can get very expensive very quickly for anybody who's trying to promote something. Okay. And
yeah.
I then put out press releases because I read that's the way to do it. You get out a press release. The problem with the press releases if you're at the receiving end of the press releases, you get buried in thousands and thousands of these, and they're basically announcements. In other words, we're a great company, or we've done this thing, or we've done that. But very few journalists want to take the time to turn those into finished articles for you, and then
True.
give you the profile that you want without mentioning your competitors, or without, sinking it. So out of that frustration, and then, when my books came out, I got interviews on radio and stuff like that, but nothing was really moving the books. It wasn't really creating the credibility that I needed. And I didn't want to spend a lot. So I had to come up, ultimately, it was out of my frustration to come up with something that would help me sell my books, that would actually end up dictating my career for the rest of time. And that was, I started writing and syndicating my own book reviews, but I typeset it and put it in finished format and syndicated it out to the newspapers across the country so that they could drop it in. Now, I realized this because I actually went to a lot of newspapers and asked them, well, why aren't you running my press releases? And they said, look, we don't have the staff to do that for every certain individual that sends us press releases. Okay?
Yeah.
We don't have it. So, but if you could write it for us and get us a shot of the cover of your book and typeset it, and it's the column width that we want, this is what's most common. There was like 9.5 picas and 11 picas. And so I did both formats. And then if you could get it to us in a slick gloss booklet, that would be ideal, because then we could just go through and pick the articles we want and drop them right in. So, because you're here visually, you've seen my books. Now I'm going to show you what a matte release looks like. The original matte release. Okay.
Yeah, there it is.
This is where they lay it out on the press, and they'd format the articles like typeset and throw the ink on and create that. But
Sure.
what we're trying to do is, and part of what I did is I went to a daily newspaper. I went to newspapers in Canada. Ultimately, when I came to the States to start NewsUSA, I was in Washington, D.C., where the National Newspaper Association is and where the press club is. And I went to the Daily Banner, which was the closest daily newspaper of any, small enough that I could go in, sit one-on-one with the editor of the whole paper. And I said to him, what happens with press releases when they come in? So what he did is he shows me the boxes he just throws them into. And I said,
Here's the trash can, Rick.
Next to the trash can. I mean, it would overload his trash can. So he was just filling these boxes with all the press releases. And what shocked me is I saw all the postage on these press releases, but I was not seeing the envelopes being opened. I couldn't believe it. From a PR marketing thing,
just trashing it.
They knew not to even open the envelopes. Okay?
Yeah.
But I said to him, tell you what, I'm going to pay for for you guys. I'm going to give you I think it was $25 a week to send that box of all the crappy press releases to me. And I monitored them for a while. These were great sales leads for me to come back to, because I call these people up. I say, hey, you're spending, I multiplied times how many sites newspapers they must be going to. You're spending thousands and thousands of dollars to mail out these press releases in these envelopes. They're not even getting open.
Nice.
I have a thought. What if I could take your press release and turn it in, have a top journalist? So I got a guy who is Jack Landau, who is bureau chief for Associated Press. He was a Pulitzer Prize nominee, and he would take those articles, those press releases, turn them into finished copy. And I'd show the client that they could get that as a finished article, and it's going to appear places because the newspapers could drop it in. So that was my
Nice.
theory. And because to make the cost work, I took I would put the package together, not just one slick camera ready article. I'd put a whole bunch of them so that I was paying one postage bill and I
Yeah.
could hit 10,000 newspapers on slick coded stuff, all pre-typeset as free copy. The newspapers would like it because it's free copy. The clients would like it because for less than they were spending on postage, I was able to write, have a journalist turn their press release into a finished thing, get it typeset, and get it placed. And I was able to have a clipping service. But at first I didn't know. But I mean, I didn't. I was concerned that the clipping services may not be so efficient. So I cut a deal with the National Newspaper Association at that point on K Street. Every Friday afternoon, 4:00, I'd swing by. I'd pick up these big mail bags of all the newspapers from all their members, and I personally would spend the entire weekend going through every single page of every one of those hundreds of newspapers, looking for anything that looked like camera-ready articles to prove what it was. So that's kind of how I got started in this.
Wow. And, what a story.
And I show one client, show another, and then so nowadays,
yeah. So today you're, specifically, a lot of people maybe in the audience don't understand really what a mat release is today. So specifically, what do you do for your clients and their agencies today?
Okay. So what we do is a three-part thing. We're writing the copy or working with their written copy to create a finished article.
Yep.
The second thing is we then distribute it nationwide.
Nice.
But it's not just distributing. We actually have contracts that guarantee us that it will run on all these news sites in our network. We also continue to send it in an electronic form to the newspapers so that they can go, or they can pull it off our website, NewsUSA.com, or they can pull it off of our copyrightfreecontent.com, and they can run it right into their newspapers, mainly in their special and feature sections, the Dallas Morning News, the Buffalo News, the newspapers like as Phil editorial. We can't guarantee that part. We don't know if they're going to run it in the newspaper. That depends on the quality of the message. However, the online, we have over 2,000 news sites under contract, so they will run it for sure. And it's the editorial. And we grab a live link to every single placement, and we grab a screenshot from every placement and pull that into nice, neat Excel reports that a lot of agencies will put their logo on and present it, to their client.
So it's technically, it's technically paid media, like in the sort of the Jenny Dietrich peso model of public relations today: paid, earned, shared, and owned media. It typically falls in the paid bucket, but it appears also to the audience as earned, because it's in the newspaper. Although is there a disclaimer on it that says this is advertorial, or how does it? Every newspaper does that a little differently.
Newspapers aren't being told they have to run it. They are choosing it because it's good fill editorial they need. So they don't put disclaimers on it.
Okay.
They don't need to, because again, they're using copy that they're dropping in because they need to. They're not mandated to run it. However,
it's paid. Yeah. So in terms of classification, it's paid for. An agency would consider it like, paid media. A lot of PR agencies run over our paid media, but it appears as earned media. Right. So it's kind of both. It's
kind of a hybrid, because traditionally paid media is kind of like advertorial, where it looks like editorial, it's guaranteed to run, but it's at the ad rates, which are really expensive.
Very much
so. If I can give you that same space in 2,000 places, 2,000 news sites, for less than you're paying to run on one,
No doubt. No,
Now
ad
you
rates are high.
throw in the creative, meaning included in the service is the writing, included in the service is all the edits, included in the service is we'll go source photos, we'll buy them, include them in what we do. And the best part when you come to any type of media is the fact that we will guarantee what we do, or we do it over at no cost. Let me repeat that, because that's
Yeah,
important, because that's why I got
that's
into
great.
this business. I got frustrated that I bought an ad because I was told this ad is going to help me sell books. And when it didn't work, they said you didn't spend enough. Not we're
Ah,
going to step up and make it right, or we're going to give you another shot anyway, so you'll at least get a few more orders and feel good about it. They just walked away and they said, "Oh, that's your problem." I like the fact that we will stand behind what we do. And that's
yeah.
why I've been doing this full time for 38 years.
So you solved the problem. You solved the problem of basically, you know, putting a guarantee on media coverage, on storytelling, and amplifying, content in a way that the brand can control the message, and a way that that gets the job done. That really kind of gets the job done. So an agency person would want to add this arrow to their quiver if they if they're running up against a wall of pitching different reporters at newspapers, or is it just more cost effective rather than pitch 3,500 newspapers or 2,000 newspapers, which would take a lot of time and cost a lot of money to pitch, especially individually. You could do it for a fraction of that and control the message at the same time. Is that accurate?
Yes, both are accurate. You're getting increased earned media impressions. This is what the clients say. You're getting increased earned media impressions. You get big name publications across the USA, and you control the messages as the content.
Right.
And they feel like they can go into a meeting knowing that they will have something to show. They won't have just fired out a press release and hoping that they can say, "Oh, it got, but no one did anything." This, they're going to be able to show thousands of placements, and they can take the client or their boss to those sites and show them the articles didn't get aged off in 2 seconds because there's 10,000 more press releases being dumped in behind that are announcements. You're buried in with less SEC disclosures and,
Oh, yeah.
oil and gas future things and hiring announcements and all sorts of stuff. Who wants to sit and read that?
And so it differs from for our audience's education purposes. It differs from a news wire in the sense that a news wire, you take your press release that you've created, you put it over the wire. There's no guarantee it's going to get picked up. There's no guarantee it's going to help SEO or anything like that. Yours, you take the content that a client's going to give you, your own authors, your own editors, create the story and write it, sort of do the job of the media, and then place it in the media. So, so really, is that accurate description of how it differs from a newswire?
I always like to say to people, you want more real media coverage, you got a press release, not working that well. Who really reads press releases on press release wires? Buried among tens of thousands of daily dated announcements of all kinds. They quickly go off, they age off, and they not really read by consumers, and rarely developed by overwhelmed journalists, because the journalists are sitting there and they're going, "I'm not going to put in a time and energy on every one that comes across my desk. I'm lucky to do one a day, or actually one a week."
Man, I tell you, and the journalism, community, I don't think a lot of people know this, but there've been so many layoffs and consolidations in newsrooms. I mean, you were talking about in the 80s, folks didn't have time to open all these press releases and write it. But today, there is a fraction of the same people doing the same job. I don't know a journalist that's not covering 3 or 4 beats these days, and just the workforce dedicated to journalism has decreased by, I think I read 2/3 in the past in the past 2 decades. So since the start of 2000, we've lost so many journalism jobs. So that just underscores the need for something like what you're doing, because there aren't bodies doing this work. There aren't bodies. There wouldn't be a newspaper.
Right.
Is that accurate?
Well, and you get the newspapers, and then you also get the newspaper sites. That's where some of these newspapers are starting to make some digital revenue, but they need content to go with the ads. They don't want to have. They don't want to pay someone. I want to say pay them properly to spend the time writing copy for their site when they can get it for free. They can go to NewsUSA.com and click on the button that says free articles and put it right in, or they can go on our article feed. We have an RSS article feed. They can grab that and just drop it onto their site, and then they go get the Google ad feed and they serve the ads, and they're making money off of our editorial that's running on those sites. And so we're building out more and more of those. And just recently, we expanded into where we found out 3 months ago that we could, starting 2021, that we could turn those articles into videos. And then now we're taking videos and we're streaming those videos on Roku and Amazon Fire, on mobile, iPhones and Androids as the content. And we're running it out to digital signage and stuff like that. And that's going to get real exciting because we've created, if you need health content, we have freehealthcontent.com, and you can get article and video content for your health sites. I've got freetravelcontent.com for travel content for your video and your and articles for your sites. So I'm going vertical as well as the feed that I've got at the same time. So as I add more and more, I'm giving my clients more exposure. And what's really good here is if you don't have a huge budget, you don't want to sign up for a big 12-month retainer. You've got to get something done, or you're an agency that has a client that you want to impress quickly. And this is a way to get guaranteed reach within a week. Within a week.
Wow, within a week. Impressive.
Within a week.
Yeah. Are there any clients? Are there any clients that you won't take? I mean, are there any? Obviously, you screen your clients. You and I have talked about my clients and that kind of thing. But have you ever? Do you run into any folks that you're just like, I either can't help you, or this is just not something that we want, that we could create a story around?
Look. We are business to consumer is the messaging. So the best fit for us is someone who has a message that would benefit by reaching into media sites across all 50 states. So if you're a local retail store in one market, I'm not going to really be able to help you. If you're if you only have, if your prospects are the 3 top Fortune 500 companies, because you're selling $100 million product or whatever, I can't really help you. But our biggest categories are if you have a consumer health product, welcome aboard. We do a lot in health. You've got a travel thing you want to promote, a destination, we do a lot in that. We do a lot in money and finance. We do a lot with charities, associations. We do a lot with startups. So a lot of these startups may be a little cash tight, but what they need is instant credibility. And they go, I want to get on the Wall Street Journal. I want to get this. Yeah, you can do that, but that's going to cost a lot of time and energy for someone to try to get them that. This is a way that within a week, you could have placements in all the 50 states.
Do you feel like your clients are good storytellers?
Yes and no. Some of them, they're better off using some sort of PR or marketing agency to help them articulate the message. Some of
Sure.
them, my editorial team, they jump on a call with for story ideas. My managing editor has been with me for more than 15 years. My top writers have been with me for more than 15 years. In fact, all of my core staff have been here a long time, at least
Nice.
15 years. They,
And
some
they're
of
journal
them
and they're all feature writers and journalists, right? I mean, they all come from that world.
Well, no, I have Lorna Lewis, for example. She runs my media relations, meaning
Yeah.
the reporting and the tracking. She's putting those print clips in from the Burrells and the newspaper. She's putting
Sure.
in, that. So her team does that. I got the, IT and tech side of things, but we have a good team of writers that understand exactly. And what's nice is even if you're a good writer, okay, it's always nice to bounce it off of somebody who does this day in and day out, because you may be too close to the product. And here's a
Oh yeah.
chance for the product, for them to look at the product from a consumer, from the person who might be reading its point of view, and to make
Mm.
sure that we have not just one link, two links, three links. Maybe you have a landing page, you want to put in a link to a certain landing page. We put those in there. If you have photos, or we need help getting a good photo, we're happy to help you with that. That's just part of what we do. But again, it's the guarantee. And it's like anybody who wants to try to even find out about this, they just, they literally go to NewsUSA.com and they can book some time with me. It's free.
Right.
I'm happy to talk to them as I'm talking to you. I have people on my team that are happy to, have these conversations. But you can just go book it there if you want to have a chat.
So what makes a great News USA story? What are the elements that make it a great story for you?
Would your aunt, uncle, cousin, relatives enjoy knowing this piece of information? If
Nice.
they'd be interested in it, or if they'd be, oh, that's kind of cool. 4 tips for safe weight loss for the American Bariatric Society. That's pretty cool. We just did 4 tips, related to financial planning from the Certified Financial Planning Board. We work with a lot of associations and a lot of charities, but
Yeah.
you're coming up with tips and information that is helpful for people to better improve their lives. And sometimes it's information you can't get any other place. It is
Yeah.
also helpful knowing about interesting new products. Some of the clients have some of the wildest and craziest fun products. And it's just nice to be able to tell that story and have it in a place where they can show the proof of the article placements with the logos of all of Buffalo News, of Boston Herald, to show.
Nice.
They can put that on their website. They can rotate across their website as seen on this. So it helps build the credibility.
So a cool product like this one, a foldable, ultra portable music stand that folds out, that's going to be launching on Kickstarter, for example. Like
that. See, that would be perfect, because then we could literally get a shot of the product, and we could put that together with the description of how, and you'd have the links to that product's investor thing on Kickstarter, and you can also have links to where they can buy it on their website, both in the same story or in multiple stories that we're doing.
Well, yeah, this is the Kickstarter that we're going to be doing with you guys and launching, that launches in a couple of weeks and we're going to do that mat release in early July to help with the Kickstarter. So I want you to see it.
And if you want to see the article on that device, okay, you go to newsusa.com and,
Exactly.
and click at the top. There's something that says free articles, and then up will come a search box, and you put into the search box, what's the name of the product?
We Stand, like WEE Stand.
Okay, WEE Stand, and up will come the article, okay,
Yeah.
that
Nice.
we are doing with Scott for this client of his.
Yeah, looking forward to that. That's gonna be
there.
That one's going to be fun. So, so video has become such a big part of your world, and so much of your work. I mean, how are you using video now? You alluded to a little bit earlier, but you offer video now, and like, why did you start doing that? Just talk to me about the importance of video in your work today.
Got it. So what we found is there's a great demand and there's great profitability in dealing in the video world. And so what I found that I could take my articles of approved copy, cut down to an abstract and create a 30-second spot out of it very cost efficiently, that I could then supply that into these distribution channels. And since I had 30,000 articles, I had a good inventory of evergreen content that I could turn into these videos that would be of interest. And I was approached by a whole group of that have the screens in all these dermatologist offices.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Content on those digital screens, and the things have changed and they don't want to pay for content. So I said, hey, I can give you free digital content and I can serve ads with it, and I give you a share of the ad revenue. But
nice.
it would give exposure to my clients in those kind of markets. We had a conversation with a hospital group. They have 77,000 screens across all their patient waiting rooms in their clinics and their hospitals.
Lord.
And they were looking for content. I talked to the guy at the two different individuals who have Jumbotron screens in Times Square. And that's what they told us, forget the 3-minute pieces we did, cut it down and give us 30 seconds. So now we've created these 30-second things, so we have more windows. And then we have this group that has, wants our travel content. They have 90 airports and they have 1,700 screens. And so I want to get my travel clients stuff running on these as the content. And then I'm trying to build in a QR code so people can literally book right there while they're sitting at the airport. As they're walking through the terminal, they see the thing, they're reading about it, they can book, and they also are served ads for the local tourist boards and stuff like that. So there's a lot of ways that I want to use technology and the things that are happening today to leverage a client and do it in a real cost-effective way. I mean, right now we're doing the beta on this content, the video content. So for the first 3 months of, in our first 3 months, we called it beta and we didn't charge anything. We just said, let us do this for you. And I got 200 clients that said right away, yeah, I'll take it for free. Then we charge a token amount. It's slowed down a little, but we're still and we're trying to build out the tracking of it and that part.
Nice. What, where do you see it going in the future? I mean, obviously, you're a visionary. You had this vision 30 years ago. You've been building this empire of syndicated content. Where is this all going for you in the future?
Well, I want to be able to go soup to nuts. In other words, I want to have somebody who says, look, I don't have much budget, but I want to make a big impact. I need something really cost efficient. I need to know that it's a fixed cost because I don't want to be signed up for more and more cost plus deals. I've been burnt by that. So I need to know what's the amount, and then let me try to give you a multimedia splash for you that is something you couldn't buy at any price, and have it be impactful for you. And then build on that excitement. I don't try to be everything to everybody. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be, there's traditional marketing agencies is everybody is a prospect, but then there's no economies or efficiencies of scale. And so I want to serve the PR and marketing people by giving them a very narrow result that they can count on.
Yeah, an arrow. Like in marketing, you gotta have a lot of arrows in your quiver. I mean,
Right.
you gotta have a lot of things you can do, and I would encourage all of our all of our listeners to the program to definitely check out Matt releases. I know that some PR people come down against them for various reasons. I've never been one of those people. I've always been like, it's a good arrow to use. It certainly has its great uses to reach people. We all know that it's more cost effective than trying to pitch 2,000 newspapers, which you're not going to have a great degree of success. You're not going to have control over the message. And since there's nobody working in those newsrooms, you're going to be talking to yourself. Just like those same people that you were opening those boxes of unopened press releases. Well, that just goes into an email automation service and goes straight to the straight into the trash can today. So I would just say that make sure you guys consider Matt releases out there. It's a good arrow to have. It's a good arrow to know about to increase your understanding as a PR professional. You need to know about all the tools that you can use to reach an audience. I think so.
Scott, you said something about mat releases, and I do want to say
Yeah.
the only objection I've ever heard to a mat release
Yeah.
is that it costs a little more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because you're going through the trouble of writing it into a finished article that is designed for the consumer to read, as
Yeah.
opposed to announcement to the journalist. So that takes a little extra work. Okay, and then there's edits back and forth to get it in Associated Press style by professional journalists. One.
Yeah.
Two, there's then making sure that it's got the guarantee to be on all these sites, which
Yeah.
requires contracts in place with a lot of media partners that have to be groomed over a long period of
Oh,
time.
absolutely.
And
You-
it's
you-
not sites like, there are some press release services that'll put you on a bunch of sites, but many of the sites I never heard of, or they're
No.
in Belarus or somewhere
Or
foreign, and
or
they're
Google
not-
doesn't index them. I mean, don't forget, for a while there, Google changed its algorithm overnight, and they weren't indexing any press release content for the longest time. So my clients would say, is there any PR value to this? And I said, well, there's no reporters paying attention, and there's no people paying attention. So I got to come down hard on the idea of there's no value.
And when you call them back up to say it didn't work for me, can
Yeah.
you make good, or do can you can we do another one at no cost? What do
Yeah.
they say?
They say no, because I mean, tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it. I'm not going to pay to do it twice.
Right.
Yeah.
It's that frustration that we pay a little more to have the insurance that
Yeah.
we're going to create it, we're going to place it, we're going to prove it. And if you're not thrilled, even if we've met all our guarantees, we're happy to do it again.
Do you think because here's how I ran into Matt releases when I came to LA and I joined my first agency there, and I was still learning the ropes in PR, and I asked a question. I said what is this Matt release thing, because it was listed on one of the PR plans or something, and it was just a real kind of a snobby look at it. I mean, it was like this. They basically said, they go, oh yeah, well that's where sometimes we can pay a service and they'll write up a story and syndicate it, but really we rely on our skills and our relationships with journalists to place our stories, and they really kind of in kind of a snobby sort of way, they basically said, well, Matt releases are sort of like beneath us. And so that was sort of my perception at the beginning of my career, because the people are telling you that, and then I learned later on, I just said that's not exactly right. That's not really. It's much more. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you just. So I wouldn't say that. I just know there are some PR people that are kind of snobby about Matt releases. I don't wonder where that comes from.
Well, I'll tell you what it was. Early
Yeah.
on, the Matt releases, we're talking, I've been doing this 38 years. Okay,
Sure.
mat releases even go back before that. Associated
Exactly.
Service, which is out of business, is where I got this mat release from. They were out of Chicago, okay? But what happened is early on, they were fill for some of the smaller papers, okay, that were growing across the country. But
Mhm.
what ended up happening is when I came into the industry, coming from News Canada down to News USA, I met up with Alton Helm, who ran the special sections for the Washington Post. He and I flew to Chicago to speak at the newspaper Special Sections Network, which were the special sections editors of the top 100 dailies in the country. And it was out of that meeting that they decided to start filling their daily newspapers with copy that was canned editorial, if you want to call it that, but I was supplying that. So I'd get 3, 4, 5 articles in the Washington Post in a given day. I'd be getting into this one,
Dude.
that one as editorial, as Phil editorial. And that kind of started to change the industry. And then I was the first to bring in the floppy disks and then ultimately the CDs to send the editorial out different ways. I tried different things. And
Yeah.
over time, I just keep tinkering and coming up with new ways to be able to do this. But back then, it was the Special Sections Network, and I would go to all their conferences, which were every August across the country and I'd be presenting hard to the group that, hey, you got free, the editorial is free, and you could use it, and it's evergreen, and put it in your newspaper. I started getting all these placements in these dailies and newspapers.
You know what? You love the newspaper business in this country. I'm a journalism major from the University of Missouri, Columbia, but you love the newspaper business. I can feel it.
I sure do.
You love newspapers.
I have personally been out to a lot of newspapers.
It sounds like it.
Across this country.
Very cool, man. Well, is there anything else that you want to add to this today? Anything else you want people to know about News USA or anything like that? And also, how do folks reach you to find out more?
The best way is they go to NewsUSA.com because everything's there, and there's also a thing to click on by which you can schedule a meeting with me. My phone number's there, okay, at NewsUSA.com. I mean, I can give you my phone number. I'll just give it to you right now, 703-508-8700. But again, going to NewsUSA.com will probably answer some of your questions. You'll see some of the client testimonials. You'll see a lot of what we talked about today put with framework to it. And
That's
I would
great.
love to at least talk about whatever project someone has. Happy to light them up. Scott, I'm glad that you are a repeat client with me with the various projects that you come up with. We work with, we've handled over 10,000 clients. I mean, this is what we do.
Wow. Nice.
Create the articles, place them, and prove it.
Very cool. Well, this has been great, Rick, and thanks so much for your time today. What have we learned today, folks? We learned that, content syndication has a really solid place in your marketing mix. And News USA is, and Rick, who loves the newspaper business, is doing his part to help all of you storytellers in the world tell that story the right way and amplify that story to the right people. Huge thanks to my guest, Rick Smith, today. And thanks to all of you for listening and enjoying another great episode of May the Best Brand Win. We'll see you again on here real soon. Thanks again, Rick. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott.